All right, I believe we are live. Welcome to Media's Live Show, episode 37, Love and Other Cliches. It's Valentine's Day this week, and because of all the podcasts we've recorded and all the editing I've had to do over the last couple weeks, I haven't really had time to do like a traditional Valentine's Day special. Not that I have a tradition when it comes to the Valentine's Day specials, except for just to have one. Uh, but I'm actually kind of making up for it with two. Today on the live show, I'll be going over some classic cliches and giving my thoughts on them, on top of just doing the wrap up of things I've read, things I've watched. Because we actually kind of have a Valentine's Day themed episodes, plural, of one of the shows I've been watching. And then later this week on Friday, I will be having a podcast uploaded that is also that's going to be like the official Valentine's Day special for this year. It'll be actually a special podcast this time around. Without further ado, let's jump right into Frieren, the new episode of Frieren, season 2, episodes 3 and 4. Give me just a sec. Gonna tweet this out. Talking Frieren, JJK, romantic cliches. All right. Let's get back into this. So, Frieren season 2, episodes 3 and 4. People are complaining about this, apparently. I don't know why. I don't know why this is the stretch of episodes that people are turning on. Because I love it a lot. Frieren has not missed. I don't think Frieren's had a bad episode yet. Prior two episodes, the last two episodes have been very good. I like how much this season is focusing on Stark and giving him things to do, having him kind of like drive the plot. It's his idea to go find the secret hidden hot spring that's actually just a foot bath. Got the fight with the Hydra that only happens because of him. His fight with the demon when they get to the northern plateau in the newest episode is great. And of course, the second half of episode 3 and the first half of episode 4 is focused on the date. Stark asks Fern out on a date, initially just kind of messing with her because she's being starved for attention and being kind of mopey about it, being kind of a brat, being a brat about it. I feel like I'm all groggy today. And Stark's like, well, if you're so desperate for attention, why don't we go out on a date? And she's like, sure. And then the rest of the episode is them trying to ask Frieren for advice. And it's like, oh my god, that is the worst person to ask advice for. And this is the lady who had the fumble of the century with Himmel. And you're asking her for advice. She's like, yes, yes, I have gone on many dates with Himmel the hero. We went and found a lost cat. Frieren, I don't think that counts. Uh, yes, my master Flam once said that anytime two friends of opposing genders go out together and do something, it's considered a date. Like, well, if you insist. Uh, but then it's like Fern gets her hopes up, thinking it's going to be this magical thing, but then it ends up just being more of the same of what they do with Frieren. It's just the only difference is that Frieren's not around. And Fern kind of coming to the realization that they always end up talking about Frieren and that they have a hard time like thinking about what to say about each other. And that's the real struggle. Like I don't really date much. I'm not, that super interested in putting myself out there like that. Like I've tried just because, there's a lot of things in this life that I've never done before and I'd like to do them. But when I am out on a date, I do find it very difficult to talk about myself. And there's a lot to talk about. I have my YouTube channel, my books, all the things I've done online. I have a bunch of interests that I know a lot about. Like I could talk someone's ear off about comics or dinosaurs or baseball, politics, history, movies. Like there's a lot of things that I know a lot about that I could talk someone's ear off on, but none of that's really about me. And like I've gone through some stuff. I have stories about myself to tell, but I don't like telling them. So that's always been kind of a struggle for me. So I really related to Stark in this moment, and to a lesser extent Fern. Uh, what else happened in this episode? The thing, Freeler is difficult to talk about because not a whole lot will happen in the episodes, and a lot of it's like philosophical content is pretty obvious for anyone who actually like takes the time to watch it, which I highly recommend. Frieren is still among my absolute favorite shows of all time. And I'm really appreciating season two. Like I said, I'm really appreciating the amount of focus Stark is getting because Stark kind of got the short end of the stick in season one because he got introduced so late. He got introduced in, I think it was like episode 6. He only got like 2 really significant stories, uh 2 or 3, because I remember that there obviously his introduction with the dragon, that's a whole arc. Then there's him realizing that making Hamburg steak is like a tradition for dwarves in Eisen's homeland. And then we got more of his backstory when he was pretending to be the one dude's son. So those were very Stark-centered stories, but the rest of it was very either Frieren focused or Fern focused, and we even got a couple episodes with Sign. Sign was not in it nearly as much as Stark, and he was only a temporary member of the party, so they did kind of have to load him up with storylines while he was there before he rode off into the sunset, and they did. Uh, and then the whole second half of this season, the whole second core was all about the mage exams, which was very firm focused, very like even more so than Frieren. Like the whole thing was hyping up how incredible Fern is and how much of a prodigy she actually is by putting her in a competition with a bunch of her peers where she still manages to like truly stand out. Uh like she's the only one of the test takers that Sire wanted to like personally train. Like a couple other people passed, but they all passed for like their either their ambition or their philosophy or just their guts, their their own goals. Fern was the only one who like shocked Sire into being like, "Oh my god, I need you as my princess. Like you can one day surpass Flom." And like Sire is so petty. Like she's banning Frieren for 1,000 years from her presence. Like such a tsundere, such a great character. I kind of miss Sire. I miss her being involved. Uh, I would like to see more of the test takers. Like we got a little bit of Warble at the start of the season. Uh, him and his little squad, Sharf and I'm blanking on the girl's name. But yeah, those three are still together. They're in the opening a little bit. So that's all I have to say about Frieren for now. Taking a 10-second. I have a bunch of phlegm built up today. The humidity was pretty high. Uh, so moving on to JJK. I actually have even less to talk about with JJK because it's kind of nonsense. Um, we got more about Panda's backstory. I still don't really understand why Panda's such a big deal. The Yuga guy died. Like I get that Panda cares about him and that Yuga was very like pro Gojo, and that's one of the reasons why they wanted to execute him. Uh, Even Panda's cry is a pretty good line. I do like Panda, but I also just feel like he's not important at all. Like he has no actual real relevance to the plot. I would have liked if Yuji versus Panda was a little more. Uh, Hikari seems fun. We didn't get a whole lot of his like curse technique. Yuji just kind of sandbagged. We get a whole big fight with Megami and Panda versus Kirara and his slash her slash there. I don't even know whose translation to trust on that. I'm gonna be real. Like I've heard so many conflicting stories of like whether she's just a whether she's like actually trans or if he's a cross dresser or if they're non-binary or if they're not or if I'm missing some cultural context. Like I've heard there's some cultural context missing in some of the translations. Uh and that's much more like a Bon Clay situation. And there's so much like agenda stuff going on with characters like that like I don't know like I'm erring on the side of they just to stay safe and consistent uh with how they're portrayed and my read on it. uh Characters like that I think are just best left avoided because there's just so many bags of worms with that, uh especially nowadays with some divisiveness going on within that the LGBT community and how uh people are getting like actually groomed online into basically joining a death cult and glorifying suicide, like glorifying the ridiculously high suicide rate within the trans community. I think that's gross. Uh Her ability or their ability is pretty neat, but it's really fucking convoluted. Like you have to approach things in a specific order in order to get to the user, and I don't they do a lot with that ability, with like having her or having them like place similar or place the same star sign on objects to make them collide into each other, or putting opposing ones in order to create like barriers. Like it's really neat, but it's one of those things where like I don't see how they make another fight with this character, and apparently they don't. Like I've been spoiled on a lot of JJK stuff. I'll try to keep that uh, to a minimum because I know a lot of people are anime only with JJK, but I do know like who all lives and who all dies and who all like stays relevant to the very end. I'm not gonna divulge that information on stream, but I do know uh, that like, and I'll say this: I'm not surprised that Kirata isn't in more of the show than they are. Like I'm not surprised that a character with this gimmicky of a power isn't super relevant, because the thing is, when you have like really complicated or convoluted powers, there's only so much you can do with that to keep it interesting. Whereas something that's a very simple power, you could it's actually a lot easier to get creative with something so simple. Which is why like most of the JoJo protagonists are just punchy hand guys. Like throughout all of part 3, Star Platinum is just punchy hand guy who's like really fast and can catch like bullets and stuff. They get a lot of mileage out of punchy hand guy who's really strong until the very end when Star Platinum becomes a punchy hand guy who's really strong and can also sometimes stop time. Whereas something like Cheap Trick from Part 4, you can only really do in one episode. Same thing with the guy whose stand is the satellite tower, and he can just control things in the satellite tower, and that's his stand ability. Or like in part 3, the orangutan whose stand is the ship. Like you can really only do that for like one episode or one 2-part episode. I can't remember which one it was. Like you can't. There's not much you can do with that. Something like Whole Horse comes back because his is really simple. His stand is just gun and moving bullets. So it's like in his first appearance, he's teamed with like Jay Giles, and he's all about like reflecting the bullets off the mirror shards, and curving things, and then he teams up with like one of the Oingo Boingo brothers, and it's a whole nother deal. Like they can keep bringing back someone like Whole Horse. You can't keep bringing back someone um like Jay Giles. Honestly, like once you kind of understand the gimmick of Jay Giles' ability, Man in the Mirror, he kind of becomes washed. We actually talked a bit about that last week with Batman villains. How like the reason why Joker, Two Face, Poison Ivy, Killer Croc, Scarecrow, Mad Hatter, the reason why they are in so many episodes is because you could do so much with that ability. You could do so much with mind control. You could do so much with like how is he mind controlling people? Who is he mind controlling? Why is he mind controlling? Scarecrow. You basically every single character should have a Scarecrow story. Every single character in DC needs to have a Scarecrow story, because the way they act and react to fear and what their spirits are and how they manifest is an interesting way to develop those characters. Which is why you had the early on you had the Batman centric Scarecrow episode. You had the Robin centric Scarecrow episode. You had the Scarecrow episode with that was basically a rough draft of Arkham Asylum. You had the Scarecrow episode where it was literally a worst nightmare for the whole Bat family, with like Barbara dying and Gordon figuring out Batman's identity and coming after him. Like there's when it's something as simple as like, I can make you afraid. You can do that. That opens up limitless possibilities. Uh, though the execution of those premises varies a lot from writer to writer. Recently, I tried reading uh, Fear State, Batman Fear State from 2016, a relatively recent Batman comic, a much more recent Batman comic than I've ever read. Um, or at least Batman comic with Batman in it. I also read like a couple of issues of Batgirls back in like 2022, 2023 when it was coming out. Uh, and of course, I've been reading Batgirl, the 2024 series. Uh, but Fear State was like the first like Batman event I actually like sat down to read, or the most recent one I've sat down to read ever, really. Uh, and I like the premise. I like the premise of Scarecrow teaming up with a new villain to use Mad Hatter's technology in order to create a fear state, a state of absolute shock and awe across all of Gotham City in order to like encourage uh, evolution and try to like rebirth Gotham City as a city that has conquered its fear, and Scarecrow going because he's a madman, uh, becoming a loose cannon and trying to like take complete advantage of it. Like he doesn't want Gotham City to be reborn. He wants it destroyed by its fear, and uh, it's got like a lot of really neat things going on, but the writing fucking sucks. The actual dialogue sucks. Simon Saint kind of sucks as a secondary antagonist. It's like, what the fuck were you expecting working with a guy called Scarecrow, using technology from a guy who goes by the Mad Hatter? And of course, Fear State is one of the many recent Batman stories that suffers from the cast bloat of Batman comics. Uh, because like I like a lot of the Bat family members. I like Dick Grayson. I used to really like Tim Drake. I like Jason Todd for the two stories where he's actually relevant to Death of the Family and Red Hood. Uh, I I love all three Batgirls. I love Barbara Gordon. I love Stephanie Brown, and Cassandra Cain might actually be my favorite DC character. I do not give the faintest fuck about Ghostmaker. And Fear State has a lot of Ghostmaker. Fear State has a lot of good guy Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. I fucking hate that. I can't stand them as heroes. They are so annoying. Uh he's not in it, but I don't like Duke Thomas. Or is it yeah, Duke Thomas. I don't like Duke Thomas. I don't like Luke Fox. I don't like Kate Kane. I don't like Jean Paul Valley. I who am I missing? Who are some other ones? I don't really like Damian Wayne all that much, and he's one of the better ones. Tim Drake has completely lost the plot of what his character even is. Recently, uh, it's like the only one that isn't. And then like I can't even really like all the Batgirls. Like they're my favorite members of the Bat family, but I can't really like them because they've been character assassinated before. Like nothing is sacred. Like Cassandra Cain, they could easily just someone could easily just fuck up and do another Robin 1 year later, or Stephanie Brown can be pulled into another war game scenario, or Barbara Gordon can walk again. Oh wait, they actually did that many times over the past decade or two. Uh, Back to JJK. Actually, that's all my thoughts on. I don't even like I said. I don't even have as many thoughts on JJK. Season 3. There a new game for the or a new rule for the Culling games is in. There's a new character who seems to be hunting down Sukuna, so I'm sure that's going to come into play later. I kind of went back on a Batman spin. So I want to talk about Batgirl 2024 again. Batgirl 2024 by Tape Rumble and who the fuck is the artist? I need to know who this artist is because they're probably the best artist who has handled Cassandra Cain. Takeshi Miyazawa. And Juan Castro on inks and Mike Spicer on colors. David Talashi doing the covers. Um, it wrapped up its first big saga in the last issue. The War of Shadows concluded the whole unburied plot line for now. I'm sure it'll come back into play later. Uh, Cassandra Cain successfully learned how to like do the chi healing stuff that some characters have always been able to do. Like I'm pretty sure Shiva has always been able to do. At least Shiva's been shown to do it as early as like the Batgirl 2000 run by Kelly Puckett. Cassandra Cain's getting the hang of that. Uh, she found a compromise where everyone kind of wins. Like the League of Shadows is still they're gonna have to find their heaven on earth elsewhere. She fixed up Nissa so Nissa can actually like feel things again. The Unburied took over Shambhala, or not Shambhala, Samsara. Got my ancient mythical Tibetan city states mixed up there. Sorry. Yeah, the Unburied took over Samsara. I guess I'm a little disappointed that Cassandra Cain never got her run back against the one dude. Um, Scrolling through it. What's his name? Be easier if I did it this way. What the fuck is his name? Calden. Yeah, Calden. Uh, I was expecting her to at least get the run back on him. They don't even really fight. They kind of just agree to postpone any vengeance things. But what I really like about this whole saga and what I've really liked about this run so far is that it really gets into Cassandra Cain's head and the past and the various regrets she has and how she's kind of defined herself by her relationship to other people like very early on. There's panel I actually really loved. But as much as I loved it, it did expose a bit of a weakness with Cassandra's characterization. Where is it? It's in volume 1. It's one of the first issues. Uh, Sorry. Oh, where'd it go? I know I had it in here. There it is. I just gotta find the page. It's pretty early on. Should be before all this. No, it's after this. It's when they're in the. Pretty sure it's when they're. Yep, here it is. Cassandra's in her monologue like, I am not my mother. My mother is cruel. She lies. She toys. She provokes. Lady Shiva only hurts. She does not feel. She does not care. She cannot love. She killed those things to become more, to become less. Lady Shiva cares for nothing but herself. I am, my mother is everything I am not. I am Barbara's will. I am Stephanie's heart. Freaking Steph Cash shippers, getting a bone thrown at them there. Uh, I am Tim's wit, Jason's grit, Damien's guts. I am Duke's hope and Dick's faith. I am Alfred's care. I am Bruce's pride. Damn right she is. I am Batgirl. I am all of that and so much more. And this is really her discovering the more part of that. Because she has, for a long time been defined by her relationships within the Bat family, despite being kind of the most solo member. Like back in the when she was first introduced, she was the only person in the Bat family to get their own Bat cave. Like Batman kind of left them to their own devices. Um, only having like Barbara to like check up on her and keep tabs on her and teach her how to read and write. Very important things. Uh, but so much of Cassandra's story is wrapped up with like her friendship with Tim and her relationships with Stephanie and Barbara and her kind of like estranged father daughter relationship with Bruce. Uh, which is why I think it was so important for her to leave Gotham and do really what Batman Incorporated should have done with her. Because there was a time where she was in Hong Kong going by Black Bat, and the person who was writing that never really took advantage of the fact that she was on her own in Hong Kong. Tate Bromble is like, this is the moment where like Cassandra Cain finds her own sense of justice. Finally, after 24, 25, 26, 27, 28 years now. Like, I think she was, because she debuted in No Man's Land, she was only a bit player in that. And that was like 1998, 1999 that she was introduced. She got her own solo series in 2000. And then this started in 2024. It's 2026 now. It's been going on, year and a half, coming up on yeah, a year and a half, because I think issue 17 is the next issue. So it started late 2024. But this is really the first time where like she's actively avoided the Bat family, actively avoided, like she actively hung up on Barbara when her and Stephanie tried calling her, because she needed to figure this out on her own. She needed to figure out what kind of person Shiva actually was, because I just read that bit from the comic, and she's actively wrong about Shiva. Shiva is more than just a killer. She's also a healer. She's many things to many people. She's many things to Cassandra, and Cassandra has to like deal with that and live with that and figure that stuff out. Uh, I've also seen like the previews for the next saga. The whole blood cult is coming back. They were kind of already introduced. They're a big thing, and well, not a big thing. They've always been a thing in DC, for years and years, decades, probably. Probably a lot longer than I even give them credit for. But No, they're going to be the main antagonists for the next bit, and apparently Cassandra Cain is going to learn like blood magic, and I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about just giving her a grab bag of superpowers, basically. Uh, but we'll see how that goes. I really hope that we get a reunion with Cass and Steph, because I think we need it at this point, at this juncture. Uh, No, we only got like the one cameo early on in this run, when Cass was just leaving, uh, and it was actually over the phone. And then we see her in the background of like one of the conversations that Cass has with Barbara. But I've been reading a lot more than just Batgirl. I've also been reading Batgirls. I've talked about this before. This is the run from 2021 by Becky Cloonan, with a whole host of fucking artists flip flop and like flip flop back and forth from. Uh, I read like the first 6 issues of this when that first volume came out, and I really liked the direction it took the characters as far as like giving them their own little operation. It's Cass, Steph, and Babs moving in together, and kind of dealing with apparently the consequences of Fear State. So the reason why I tried to pick up Fear State and try to get more context for what's going on here. I couldn't get into the art. And the art gets better, but it also gets worse. It kind of depends on who the artist is. Like I said, they go through like 3 different artists that they go back and forth between. There's one who's really good. The other 2 suck. And it's a shame that the one who's really good gets the fewest amount of issues. Uh, But it's fun. It's funny. It's low stakes for the most part. But I actually really like Steph in it. I like Stephanie Brown in it. And I like the teases. I like the teases. No, I'm a pro shipper. I am very much for people shipping whoever they want to ship. And while I don't really romantically ship Cassandra Cain with Stephanie Brown, my God, they are adorable together. Uh, else? Over the past 2 weeks, I've read some more Captain America. I read through. Let me get the issue numbers. From 142 to 152. The Gary Friedrich and the Jerry Conway runs. Gary Friedrich ran for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, 7 issues of Gary Friedrich and 4 issues for Jerry Conway. Both of which moved on to other things. Uh, Jerry Conway, of course, he was doing something that was like bi-monthly before jumping on to Captain America. Then he did basically just one kind of arc for Captain America. It was actually 2 mini arcs, but kind of all ties in together. Um, and then he moved on to Spider-Man. Like he upgraded to working on Spider-Man, where he would then proceed to kill off Gwen Stacy and write the second or third most definitive, like they're probably third, is Stan Lee, and then I would throw Dave McElhinney in the number 2 spot. So the third most important Spider-Man run, which means that I've officially reached the Steve Englehart run, and I'm really looking forward to actually like getting into the weeds on that, because Steve Englehart wrote Secret Empire, which is thus far my favorite Captain America story. Uh, but I'm really I got quite a while before I get to Secret Empire. Secret Empire starts with 169, and I'm on 153. So I got about 16 more issues before I get to Secret Empire, and it'll be my third time reading Secret Empire. Uh, let's talk about One Piece for a minute. One Piece is back from its holiday break. The new episode or new chapter is pretty dope. We got shit going down in Elbaf. King Jarl is digging in his heels and being like, "Look, you mess with the fucking kiddos. Now you gotta mess with the bull. We don't stand down. You know, you've been so far. You've just been kind of walking through all of our weak ass youngins. Now you gotta deal with the warrior generation. Uh, and of course, the Straw Hats have arrived. Zoro has a plan, and that plan is almost certainly just to cut them really hard. Uh, but he's thrown himself right in the middle of Dorian Broggy. And we got a little glimpse of Brooke's backstory. We got a little bit of an explanation for what the fuck is going on with Gunko. Apparently, she was in Harold's position, some way, somehow. Uh, Brooke calls her a patricidal princess. Uh, and Emu's like, Gunko, are thy memories return are beginning to return? Uh, but yeah, it almost certainly, like without a doubt, Gunko was the princess of whatever Brooke's homeland was, and at some point she turned on her people, made a deal with the literal devil of the One Piece world, and became a God's Knight. Became one of the devil's God's Knights, which is so fucked. Uh, and we also got the Nika Dream monster. Uh, trying to attack a couple of the giant pirate guys. Uh, got a Gertrude Goldberg and Roto. Hitting the Nika monster with the Gokoku sovereignty and destroying the boat that Somers was supposed to be escaping on. So he's freaking out. He's like, "Oh shit! Now we're actually stuck here and have to fight our way out." That's not what we signed up for. We did not want to go to war with an emperor. We were trying to do this all covert op shit. We also got a trailer for the One Piece live action, and it looks fucking dope. I love it. Uh, I've seen people try to do like revisionist history, like, oh man, this actually looks bad. People don't actually like it. Like, no, this is fucking peak content. One Piece live action kind of slaps, and everyone knows it. Like everyone knows it was one of the best shows to come out on TV post pandemic. Best shows to ever. Honestly, one of the best shows ever put to streaming. That might be a bit of a hyperbole, but whatever. That's my opinion. What else am I reading? I need to catch up with Dakinagi. I need to catch up with Zom 100. The things that are monthly are really fucking hard to keep up with. I swear to God. I can never remember when Zom 100 is supposed to come out, but I know I have to at least be one chapter behind by now. But let's get into the main subject. We'll spend the last. I don't know how long this is going to be. I was actually hoping that this stream would only be an hour. I guess I'll go an hour and a half though. Before I leave. So, uh, a couple things I definitely wanted to address with this. Uh, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Romance, I think, works better as a B plot. It works a lot better when there's other things going on. When you try to have it just be about the romance, you're not seeing someone's entire life. You're not seeing like anything like really comprehensive, and so it's really easy to tell what's going to happen just from the first couple minutes. It's really easy to tell who's going to be the main girl, who's going to be the main guy, and of course, like from there, it's like, oh, are they going to end up together, or is this going to be a 500 Days of Summer situation where they break up at the end, or break up before the end, and end up elsewhere, and it's about them falling in and out of love. Uh, I'm actually recording a podcast tomorrow about one of my favorite rom coms and I'll be bringing this up again. The other thing I want to bring up is childhood friends. So the reason why childhood friends so often lose is because childhood friends represent the past. They represent what was. They represent the things in the main character's life that have to change for them to be happy, or for them to live happily ever after. They are the childish things. They are the immaturity. They are a representation of the lack of growth, or the uh, presence of stagnation. Like if a childhood friend were to win, then there wouldn't be any point in having the other character. You could just have them start going out and have relationship shenanigans from there. So having the childhood friend win is very risky to do, because it ends up running the risk of outmoding the person who is kind of set up to be the actual main love interest. By that merit, soulmates and like promise girls are also kind of like hard to pull off in an interesting way, because a lot of people will literally just kind of club turn and be like, oh, they're just soulmates. They're just super attracted to each other. We don't need to develop anything else. And like, yeah, sometimes that happens in real life. Sometimes you just meet someone and you head it off with them and then you get married and live happily ever after. Like, it's not impossible, but that's not a story worth telling. Uh, and with the Promise Girl, then it's, again, it kind of has the same problems as the childhood friend, and in that like it's a less mature, less developed person making that promise. Why so many Promise Girls also lose? Uh, and I want to roll back to Batman for just a bit, because this is kind of relevant with something that just happened in the recent Matt Fraction run on Batman. Tim Drake is out as Robin, and the reason he gave is because his boyfriend Bernard, who is such a fucking industry plant ass character. Bernard did not exist throughout the entirety of Robin's solo run. He did not exist until just a few years ago, where he was just introduced just to be set up to be Tim Drake's bisexual awakening. And then retconned it, like his backstory with Tim Drake is retconned in. It is a retcon. Bernard is a retcon. And also just a really boring character, who makes Tim Drake more boring by association. Just as industry plant character who only exists in order to further exploit the LGBT community by making them feel seen, and then giving them dog water and being like, look, aren't you happy? Being bisexual is enough, right? 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 Uh, and I'm not just saying that because I really like Tim Drake and Stephanie Brown's relationship throughout the late 90s, early 2000s. Because Tim Drake and Stephanie Brown, they've been on and off since the 90s. Like, yeah. Soulmates don't exist in comics. Unless you are Lois Lane and Clark Kent, you are not soulmates. There's no such thing, because even if someone were to, like, get someone together, like, really, really build up to it, like, establish the character really early on, have them grow up with, or have them like grow and develop alongside the main character, have them kind of like in and out and exploring their sexualities and their feelings and growing more mature and then dating for a long time and then getting married and having like marriage problems and baby blues and dealing with all that. All it takes is one Joe Quesada to be like, you know what, let's have Peter Parker make a deal with the devil and ruin the marriage forever. I was talking about Spider-Man if you couldn't tell uh, by that. Like, Peter and MJ were married for like 15 years of publication and had been dating a lot longer than that. Mary Jane had been a character since the 60s. They got married in the 80s. The whole reason why they brought J. Michael Straczynski into Spider-Man in 2000 or 98, 99, somewhere in there, uh, the whole reason why they brought J. Michael Straczynski in to write Spider-Man was to be like, hey, we've tried to sabotage this marriage. It's not working. Actually, like, fix it and make it interesting, please. And he did, and it worked. It was like the only good thing about the Straczynski run. And then Joe Quesada was like, you know what? I don't like it when Peter is married. I want him to be single and freewheeling. I like Felicia Hardy, and I preferred it when Spider-Man had a bunch of love interests that he was romantically entangled with. So let's character assassinate Peter Parker and make him suck for the rest of time because Peter Parker has not been a good character since then. And that was like back in 2007, 2006, 2007. It was right after Civil War. Like, the only interesting stories that Peter has been involved in are ones where he's not the main character, like Superior Spider-Man when Dr. Octopus took over his body, or Spider Island where MJ was kind of the main character and the main hero. Yes, I am now officially on record as having liked Spider Island. I know. I will turn my comic book credentials over to the police at my earliest convenience. Actually, I don't know if Spider Island is all that hated. I've heard mixed things. But I just know that most Spider-Man fans don't like anything Spider-Man related from after like 2007. So, uh, but yeah, like Batman has had a bunch of love interests. Daredevil has had a bunch of love interests. Um, where I'm at in the my Captain America read through, uh, Captain America's only had like two real love interests. He had one from the 40s, who I think is, I don't remember if they've retconned her to be Peggy Carter yet. Because every time I try to remember her name, I'm just like, oh, it's Betsy Ross. Uh, but I know from like I know I've read a comic where like Betsy Ross was actually just an alias for Peggy Carter. Uh, so like he had that in the 40s, and then he had Sharon Carter. But now where I'm at, like there's also Valentina, who is trying to be like a third wheel love triangle love interest because Jerry Conway was writing it, and Jerry Conway really loves Archie. He also turned Spider-Man into basically Archie with superpowers too, with the whole Betty Veronica Archie dynamic being Peter MJ and Gwen Stacy. Uh, but yeah, like even I know that like Sharon Carter's probably his most persistent love interest. I feel like Volume 3 focused a lot on them. Uh, and I know during the like Sam Wilson Captain America run, Steve was with Sharon as well. But I also know that like I've seen him with other people. Like I've seen him with Black Widow. I've seen him with Madam Hydra. I remember Captain America number 50 had a whole page where it was like a. Let's see if I can find that. Which one would it have been? It would have been that one. 3, Volume 1. Volume 2. Yeah, it would have been Captain America by Dan Jurgens, Volume 3. Yeah, the Death of Captain America issue. There's a page in here where it goes through like all of his love interests. Yeah, here it is. It's not even all of them. Like, kind of have a hard time recognizing any of them. I don't know if I've even ran into any of them in my watch throughs other than Sharon Carter. Like, I recognize Sharon Carter. Then there's some girl with like brown curly hair. And then redhead and pink latex. Yeah. So yeah, and he's one of the more monogamous heroes. Uh Dick Grayson very famously like flip flops between Starfire and Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, because like Barbara Gordon was originally introduced as a love interest for Dick Grayson, and then Marv Wolfman and George Perez created a whole new love interest for Dick Grayson as part of the Teen Titans Starfire, and so it's like, who do you prefer? Whoever's writing Dick Grayson, they get to choose who they prefer. Sometimes he gets a different love interest. Sometimes he gets a all new, all different love interest. But Corey and Barb are like the two main ones for Dick. The Batman, you got Talia al Ghul, you got Selena Kyle, you got all these other characters that aren't nearly as relevant. Um, I've put this off enough. I have pulled up a wiki, dairy types wiki, and I'm going to I only recognize like 5 of these. Uh, but yeah, I just wanted to go through this alphabetically, I guess. So Amadere, term for a character who's extremely sweet and gentle, mature personality that is reliable and always takes care of the person they are dere for. Okay, so it's like these dairy types. Jesus Christ, there's so many. There's no way I'm gonna go through all these. Not in the 30 minutes I have left. So I'll just go through the big ones. I'll go through the 5 main ones, I guess, and maybe and the ones I recognize. So Dere Dere, they got Shiki Mori on here. I guess she's Dere Dere. I mean, she's very affectionate and very like possessive of Izumi. Um, she's also kind of a badass, so I don't know if I would qualify her as just only being loving. But that's the thing about Deres is that like I don't actually really like the Dere cliches or how they are used in discourse, because uh, it's very diminishing or very what's the word I'm looking for? Where deconstructive. It's very deconstructive. Uh, because you're taking these potentially complex characters and putting them in little boxes, which is why there's so many of these dere categories and subcategories. Like there's probably 100 here. Uh, and it's because like, oh, if they stray from it, just stray from the thing just a little bit, then it's a whole new dere type, even though it's really not. It's just people show love in different ways. People have different love languages. Uh, but yeah, in my experience, dere, that's like the best for if they are already in a relationship. Uh, Shikimori, good example of like how to do a slice of life romance story where there's no actual relationship drama. It's just two characters who are in love, who are dating, getting into the kind of shenanigans that couples would get into. Tsundere, I've got a record say that I really like tsunderes. I think that they are the easiest type to write because they have a built-in character arc. They kind of come with an outline already established. Like, oh, they go from hating the person or being mean to the person to liking the person. They go from tsundere. They got Taiga on here from Toradora. She is kind of a definitive tsundere. Although I would actually say that Chitoge from Nisekoi is a much better example of like what a tsundere actually entails. Because Taiga starts like she's more dere than Soon. Like she's never like unreasonably mean to Ryuji. Like she's brash and she like hits him, but she kind of treats everyone like that. Whereas like Shitoge has a special like flavor of hatred for Ichijo. Kudere, this is my least favorite. It's just kind of boring, nonchalant. That's the cold. Uh, Dandere. Which one was What was Dandere? Uh, Dandere. That's like that's also similar to Kudere. That's right. I remember these two terms because quintessential quintuplets, Miku. People were debating on whether she was Dandere or Kudere, and as the show went on, it was apparent that it was much more Dandere, where like she is kind of cold and expressionless, but when she's comfortable, she can be very expressive and very like into things. But that was all part of Miku's arc of being ashamed of her love interest, thinking that she was a loser, thinking very low of herself, putting her sisters on a pedestal, being like too embarrassed of her interest to share them with her sisters. And then through like the Seven Goodbyes arc, she learns to like more embrace those things and share those things with her sisters. Uh, the Yandere, that's the creepy one. It's got the Mirai Nikki girl. I don't know who the Kudere or Dandere characters are on here. Never seen them before. Uh, I've never watched Mirai Nikki, but I've seen the memes. But that's like the possessive stalker thing, and like I get it. Like I understand that could be someone's kink, but it's also a red flag. I like I can't think of any examples of Dorodere, but based on this description, I really like it. Like I would actually probably classify Yotsuba as Dorodere. We're like on the surface very affectionate, very bubbly and cutesy, but on the inside, they're very murky, vindictive, with disturbing or violent thoughts. I wouldn't go that far as to say Yotsuba's like that, but she is very gloomy deep down inside. You got a lot of regret, a lot of pent up angst angsty. I like angst. I like my characters to be angsty. Himadere, that's the princess thing. I find those characters annoying. Aerodere, that's the like horny on main. Would Alia be considered an Aerodere? She's very prim and proper and very like tame, but at the same time, she does lose control of herself sometimes. Kamidare, that's like one with the god complex, right? Yeah. Yeah, arrogant, self centered, looks down on their love interest. Uh, I've never watched Haruhi. That's who they have as the picture for this. Yeah, that's all I really wanted to say. Uh, I could do more, but I don't know. I'm kind of bored. I'm bored of the stream. Uh, Not a whole lot of interaction today. Uh, Zero interaction today actually, and I got things to finish up. Like I said at the outset, I didn't actually want this to be more than an hour long. Um, and I did spend a pretty good amount of time talking about Frieren and talking about like the how relatable that was. Uh, I actually have this whole month planned. Last week was Batman the Anime Series. This week is doing weekly recap and talking about like some romance stuff. Um, if I had more time to plan, if I wasn't so busy this week, I would have done a writer's workshop stream where I talked about like writing romantic stuff. I'll have to save that for another day. Then next week is President's Day, and I've been waiting to do this. I actually wanted to do this as one of my very first live shows, but I missed the boat on President's Day. I was like, you know what? I'm going to save it for President's Day. I'm going to do a president tier list, which will be in no way controversial whatsoever. And then the final Tuesday of the month, I'll be doing my Rubion retrospective because it'll be the 10-year anniversary of Rubion Vale starting, and so I'm looking forward to that. I'll read some excerpts from some of my favorite bits that I've done for Rubion, and then that'll take us into March. I don't know what's going on in March, but we'll get there when we get there. Thank you all for watching, and have a good day. I'm hungry. I'm